Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me tonight. I'm Donelle McAdams, and we are here for Odd Mondays. And that's an odd color combination there I got. I think I'll take this out of the way for now because it's really, really bright. Kind of just a bit more than I can handle for that reason. So, what are we going to do tonight for Odd Monday? Well, it's going to be kind of fun because we'll just see how far we get. But what I'm planning to do is an overview of the templates that were in quarter one, quarter two, and quarter three subscription boxes. So I am now going to be doing quarter three first. So these are the two templates, but there's actually a whole lot more than that because these pull apart. So let me show you. This is from this quarter, the one that's just almost over. And if you've not done one of these, you may consider doing one of those subscription boxes. And I can tell you on Thursday, let's see, Thursday is 15, the 18th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So if you're on the East Coast, that is 1 p.m. We are launching the box for fall, and there will be new templates in that. So let me go ahead and get started with the templates from the most recent quarter three box. And while I'm doing that, you can go ahead and let me know who's here and where you're from and all that good stuff. And I'm going to show you this first. This particular quarter has focused on the churn dash block, and this is just one of them. Mine finished measures a little over 7 inches. So you can get an idea of what size those templates are. So this happens to be that particular template. And even if you did not get the box, you can still order this template. This is a Spin-E-Fex 7 in the 3-inch and the 5-inch. So let me get my crosshair square here. Wondering where my little one has walked away to. I'll use this one right here. I guess it has a little break in it. I'll have to glue that. Okay, so I don't need a very big space for this. So I'm just going to come down here in this corner and mark my 8 lines. You could do this on a 6. Instead of having the 8 lines, you would have 6 lines. Some of you may not be aware that we have 6-point and 5-point crosshair squares, which gives you a whole new look when you do it with a different stitch out. So I'm going to do with this one, I'm using a dark thread so you'll be able to see it easily. I'm going to do the plus, in other words, this, and this with the big one. And as you can see, I lined up a line across here and up there. And let's get our machine set. Get my thread here. And I'm going to put the foot down and the needle down, bring that needle up, pull the foot up, and get that thread out. So we'll put that needle right back down in that spot. Line everything up. And before I come completely back down here, I want to make sure I get this out of the way. I'm going to turn around this. There's a line there lined up, one over here. There's actually one that's lined up back there. Neither of us can see that. I always like to check that I get right back to center, and that's on any design. And if you don't get right back to center, this is in the center, but if not, you would just kind of take your needle up and move it just a smidge so it now comes back into the center. I'm going to get my stuff off of here so I can rotate easier. And I'm going to turn that and line it up again. So now you see the design that I have here. Let me lift that up and pull it out through there. And I just have the 4 spokes. And obviously, we can put the 4 other spokes in there. And because I see something developing here, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to change sizes yet. So let's just put that back in, line it up, put my foot down. So you can see how it's making what I call an interior design. And that's why lining this up is so important. So now I'm going to show you how I can easily bury the knot that I'm going to make. So I'm going to go ahead and raise the needle, raise the foot. I'm going to get my template out from under there. And if you have an extra lift, you can see me raising it. I've got a button on the front of my machine, but then I also have extra lift in the back. So that makes it much easier. So I'm pulling away from the design, getting a hold of that thread, putting it right back in the center there, and pulling it up again. So this time, when I pull that up, this is my bobbin thread. So I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to cut that thread. And then there's a little one left, so I'm just pulling it away from the needle area and cutting my needle thread. So now I have 4 threads, 2 from when I began and pulled up, and the last 2 that I just pulled up. So that's my design. I'm going to go ahead and take the time to show you this on this one, because I would say there's probably some people out there that have not seen how to do this. And what we're going to do is get my needle there ready. I'm going to take my 2 fingers and kind of flip them around, and then I'm going to pull the tails through that loop, but don't pull the loop down. Okay? And then I'm going to take my point of my needle, and this happens to be a side threading needle, which you'll see in a minute, but I'm putting that point through the loop and right back down to where that spot is. And this now allows me to control my knot, because I do not want the knot on the surface of the fabric. I want it about 1/4 of an inch away from that surface. So that way, when I pull these threads into my side threading needle and I go back into the center here, I can bury those threads in that batting. Sometimes it's a little harder to pull than others. There we go. And because that knot is not on the surface, it will pull on through. Now, I almost need my hemostats to get a hold of this. I'm surprised at that. Now I think I got it. Wow, I've never had that. And then I just stabbed myself. I've never had it quite that tight before. Let me see if I can get my grippers here. Well, I don't have my hemostats. I'm going to use my stable tape and see if that'll help. That got it. Okay, now we know another use for stable tape, huh? There we go. So I pulled that through. The knot's still sticking up there. You can see it a little bit. But I'm going to pull my tails through and then get a hold of them and pop that in. You probably even heard it. It was so loud. So that's my tail that didn't come through. Now it's through. And so that allowed that to pop right in there. So now my tails are hidden. That's probably the most difficult one I've ever done. But it gives you a nice clean center there. Okay. All right. Got quite a few people looking, watching tonight. We've got people from all over and some even from Australia. Okay, so what I'm going to do, you can see the difference in the size because back on this one, I actually combined it. I put it inside there so that I had one inside of it. But I think that this was one I want you to see a little bit clearer than that. So I'm going to make sure that we go ahead and do it separate. And again, it's not very big, so we won't make it too far away from the original. If you're not familiar with the tool I'm using, that is a crosshair, or that's a crosshair tool, but this is a Clover Choco pen. And it is what allows us to put the chalk, and I need to make this one longer, the iron off chalk into the pen. So then all of these marks, if they don't brush off, and you can see that's pretty well brushing off there, but if they don't brush off, they definitely iron off. I'll get you up here a little bit closer. All right. Now, on the last one, I did the 4. I'm going to be doing all 8 of them, but we think at Sew Study that you will have a better looking design if you don't just take it and spin it around to the next one. So I'm going to show you how I would do that, which I was actually doing it on the last one, but I did not mention it. So I'm going to do opposites first. And I didn't do that on the first one. And then I'm going to this one. I'm going to make sure I got back in that center. Keeping this out of the way. Uh-oh. Let's see what happened. Guess it's pretty simple. It came unthreaded. Not unthreaded, it evidently broke the thread. I am using a 40 weight thread tonight. And just because I want to make sure everything is good, I am going to check that bobbin thread. And it's fine. It's in its tension like it's supposed to be. Let me tell you something that I know about black thread. It's probably the weakest thread out there. And the reason for that is because when they have their vats of dye, black thread is the one that gets all the leftover colors from the other, because everything thrown together becomes black. You probably think that's crazy, but that's true. And so because of that, it somewhat makes the thread a little bit weaker. Don't understand all of it, but know that it's the truth. Okay, let's try this again. It's also the most linty for the same reason. So now we're going to go back and do these others. Now this little crossover that's created like right there, if you were doing this design with a 6-point or a 5-point template, you probably would not have those crossovers because the design would be farther apart when it's stitched. I do not know what's wrong here tonight, but we're going to find out. If I hadn't checked that bobbin, I would have blamed that, but since I did, I don't know what the problem is, but I know that's not stitching. So let's get the almighty seam ripper and see what's happening here. You know what's funny about this? Well, I wouldn't think it's funny, but since I'm with you, I'll think it's funny, is I just cleaned my machine right before I went live because it hadn't been done in a while. Doesn't know how to act, I guess, now that everything is all cleaned up. Looks like I ran over a thread there. Okay, let's see what we got. Spider webs, right? Well, while I was getting ready for tonight, I was looking at the schedule. There's a lot going on this week, so make sure you stay tuned to that Sew Steady channel to be able to see all of the classes. And I'm going to be introducing the new circle sewing project tomorrow, I believe it is. Sometimes I get up and have to check, what am I doing today? All right. Just get her lined up. It's the last one and didn't like that. Okay. You guys ever talk to your sewing machine like I do? Sometimes I specify I'm speaking to the thread now. That's the way I feel right now. I'm speaking to the thread now. Okay. All right. I'm just going to cut the thread out. I'm not going to bury the thread. Now, here is a way that you can, because there's gone through so many times in there, you can just kind of go around in a little circle in the center because there's stitches in there. Press your finishing button and let it finish. But then raise your needle, take your foot up, and pull away like I did before. But this time when you put the foot back down and the needle down, all you're doing is pulling up that thread from the bottom, because you can see it's right there. That's the bobbin. And you can just cut it off. This keeps from having a knot on the back side. And so that way you have knotted it off. It's secure, but you just pull those threads up and you won't have to deal with it. So you can see quite a bit of difference in the sizes on those two, but this is a really nice template to have to do any way of the Spin-E-Fex for sure. But you can obviously combine these like I did before, putting one inside or doing every other one and putting the smaller ones in between. Lots of different ideas for one of the Spin-E-Fex, and this is Spin-E-Fex 7. Okay, any questions on that? Great to see all you guys tonight. Okay, so the next one that I want to show you is a template that is called Birds in Flight. Butterflies, not birds. Butterflies in Flight. I had a quilt that was called Birds in Flight. So this is one, because if you're using it completely, there's a lot, and I'm going to show you a few of them, of ways you can do it, but you need the stable tape on both sides, okay, because you would turn it over and use it for the other side of the butterfly. Actually, it's this way, okay? All right, so you have got that piece. You can do it on the inside here. Some people feel more comfortable on the inside. We have antennas, or these can be used as connectors to something else. This is part of the inside. And again, you can use the inside or the outside and go around this. Now, just know this, that even though this is larger, when you stitch inside that, that will be smaller than this one where you stitch outside of it. So there will be probably like a 1/2 inch difference, okay? So these all have the stable tape on both sides. So this particular template can be used in a lot of ways. One of the things that I'm going to show you, just to start out with, is if I took my ruler and I'm going to make a 6-inch square and then divide it in to 4 3-inch blocks. think this will work. Got that. And maybe too big for that. Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to need to make them 2.5. Because this will work. You'll have a lot of other things you can do with that. But, so I'm going to take that and then okay, my heavy lines are my actual lines I'm working with. And if you did my class on next steps, we actually did this. So you can see, don't pay attention to this over here. We've got 4 2-inch blocks. And what we're going to do is use this edge and our spacing gauge, because we want to come right to that point. So when I use the spacing gauge, it's at an angle like that. I think you can see it. It's not straight on the line. It's at an angle. The flat side here needs to touch the flat side of your template. So we're going to stitch down to here. We're going to line it up beside that, repeat to get down to here. No one was hurt. That was just my templates falling off. Turn this. Your foot is always in the right place where it's at because it's in the corner. You just have to measure the next one. So any oval that you have could be used just like this. So obviously that's why different size ovals, because as I had the 3-inch, this oval is too small for that. Looks like that center, I didn't get quite to the right spot. That one there should come in a little closer than that. So here's what I'm going to do. My best little job of connecting that with 2 stitches. Now with 4 blocks like that, it worked to do the whole thing with one stop and one start. I think if I remember correctly, when I worked this out, if you have like even across and down, you'll be able to do that. So in other words, 2x2, 3x3, 4x4. But I have taken and sat down and drew them out and then kind of figured out how I could get the most. It doesn't really matter if you stop and start, but it's always nice to keep it if you don't have to stop and start. So I think you can already see a little bit of the puffiness that's coming up just from doing it that way. So that is just a little way that you can do this. Now there's also marks across, and you can use this in a lot of different ways. I'm going to show you a couple more of those. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this thread right here. And we will draw another line across. And with those lines being across there, this is just a fun little thing, using only half of this. I've put the one on the line, and I'm just going to go around this and stop there. Move it over, line that line back up. And it just makes a fun, simple little border. And you may be wondering, so how far apart are those? They are 2 inches apart and 1.5 inches tall. So I'm going to lay that there and show you how we could stack them just like we do our scallops. So I'm stopping at the top. I'm lining this up so that comes straight down in the middle there. I'm knocking it all off tonight. So basically you have some oval scallops or clamshells just by using that template or any that are similar. I think you get the idea of that. And as I said, if you're more comfortable on the inside, again, it's going to make a different size. Got to get them from the back here before they fall completely off. You've got an oval right there you can use. You could do this same concept with these because these have lines in the center too. Super, super small. Okay, they are so, so small. So that's just a little bit of the ovals. Now what I'm going to show you is the actual butterfly. And this is the piece that comes with the ideas because I'm not a creative person, but that's some of the things that you can do with the butterfly. So these ovals right here are the small ovals on the template right here. Okay, so let's see what that butterfly looks like stitched out. And a lot of times we forget that quilting on a project of any size does not have to be all routine. So you could go onto a quilt and just put random butterflies and then use something to connect them if you wanted to. So when I first got this, I thought that quilt or that butterfly went that way. It doesn't. It goes this way. So let's go ahead. I'm going to draw a line just because of the fact that the butterfly has a line to line up with. And it's right down here and right up there. Okay, so let's just give it a start here. All right, I can get out of here without breaking the thread. Turn it over and come back in and line up. I've got little etchings right there, right there, right there, and in the back. So now when I go around, it's going to make his head. And again, I'm not going to take the time to bury that thread. But that looks pretty cool just like it is. However, we have those ovals to make a design on his back. Or I don't know what you want to call that. And to make these little antennas. So let's do the antennas first. And as with anything else, you kind of have to decide where you're going to put this. And stop and flip and rotate. Yeah, right. We're going to put it like this and see what happens. I didn't have it down far enough. So I did it so it went out and came back, because you know the antennas kind of need to be a little heavier anyway. I like the way that looks, but that's obviously because I took an extra stitch. So wish I could have done it exactly like that on this side. So now what we're going to do is one big one on each side here. We'll make sure I leave room for the little ones. Just ignore the fact that I'm not pulling up every time. If you want that to be heavier. Okay. Now, depending on how you want to do it, I'm going to walk right down this inside here and do this other one right like that. And then Since I'm not the best going backwards at traveling, I'm going to turn it around. And come up. Put my template back in. I think that needs to come up just like one more stitch. And then you could repeat that on the other side. You could have put a piece of fabric down and made that a different color or whatever. And then it has loops. So if you wanted to do this to loop out, that's what this little guy would be for. So let's just put it right here. I always forget, I got to put my needle in first so I know where I'm starting. So you do that, take this out, turn it over, and loop back around. And you can play with these loops to do whatever you want to do with them. And obviously they don't have to be used just on this template, with this template. So as I said, you could do several butterflies and then connect them either with those loops, or I have used as a connector before to something that I want to connect about 5 or 6 inches away. I have used the spine on my, for my feathers. So I've used just part of this spine to give a nice wavy look. So there's a lot of things that you can do to create. I'm not a free motioner, and I've told you that many times, so I have to have something to go on. But all of that and all of these designs here can be done with what's called Butterflies in Flight template. So remember, it comes with that piece, and I got to remember this goes this way, and then there's a piece that goes in here. Now, I mentioned something, and I don't even know on what class it was or what I was talking about, but I'm going to show you something that is also a bit new. In fact, it will be included in the next box, and that is what is called an applique disc. Okay, so if you were with me, I showed you these little guys, and fortunately the ones you're going to get are colored, but those are applique discs. And what you do is you use them like stitching line discs, except they give a larger, when you stitch with, or when you draw with them, that allows the design to be larger. So let me show you how I used it with those templates, or with the template that I just showed you. I protect these like really investments in gold because I don't want to lose them. So this is a project that I did last time, and I'm sure the class is up there. But these are drawn, these pieces here are drawn out using the template that I showed first. And then this one is the one that what I just used. Now, this is what's called sketching. So when you look at this and go, oh my gosh, she couldn't even keep on the lines, that's the way it's supposed to look. It's just a rough type of sketching. So when I use those little tiny applique discs and I use the template, like this, when I drew, it allowed me to have the same shape, except it was smaller than this opening. And so then when I used my ruler work foot, this is less than 1/4 of an inch. It's about 1/8 of an inch. So it allows you, all of these pieces have on the back of them a fusible. So like this is like raw edge applique. And like I said, we're seeing a lot of this, what they just called stitch sketching. And so what I did is I did the work on my heavier canvas piece. There's another flower up there. And then I quilted through the canvas. So the quilting is through the back also. So this is a heavier piece that had I not, put it into and turned it, this could have been the front of a bag. They make these as table mats for outside. If you wanted to do a waterproof fabric, you could do that. But the fun of it is to make this look like anything, you got to go around it multiple times. And if you get off, that's okay, because it's the sketching part of it. So that's the design. That was an extra project that we did last time. And it was done with these templates. So just another idea. I think sometimes it's fun to sit down. If you think of some of the artwork you see that's more sketchings than anything else, that's kind of the way they've done it, just by just laying it out there and sketching around it. Now, I forgot to show this. This is one that was done with that oval. You can see what I did here. It's the same thing I showed you. And then I also echoed it up here. So this was done with that little oval to get those designs. Okay. Now I'm going to jump real quick back to first quarter. And in first quarter, this was a project that I taught. So this is our panel that we had. And these were the templates that we did. And I'm going to show you this in just a moment. But then there was also a class that taught you how to make this. So some of you may have gone ahead and made this. So I taught you how to use the vinyl. You can see my templates are inside here because there's a zipper that allows me to store my templates. So I'm going to pull those 2 templates out and show you what I did with that. Because it is a fun set of templates, I will tell you that. There's my thread. So this is a fairly large design, so I better do a pretty good size here. I just realized my backing fabric pretty much matches my fingernail polish. And no, that was not planned. All right. So the first one we're going to do is the inside. And I'm just going to take my tape with my pen or my thumbtack, whichever you want to call it. Get it right in the center. This is like spinning wheels 36 from your sampler set. We start at A and move to B. You rotate. But it's always nice to have those lines to line up with. I'm going to get rid of those threads to begin with. Obviously, it's not a project, so it won't matter. Stop at B. Rotate till it becomes A again. I don't have a line there. No problem. Use the lines etched on your template to line up with previous stitching. It is nice to have a line every other one. This one I'll line up with the stitching and the etching. If this is your first time joining me for Odd Mondays, welcome. I think this is only about the third or fourth one we've done. And Odd Mondays are kind of like whatever Sew Steady wants me to show, I'll show them. If you have anything you're particularly wanting to see, we'd be glad for that too. Just have to let me know. I'm pretty excited about some projects that are coming up that I'm going to be teaching third quarter. So join me tomorrow for sure for the teaser for what I'm calling Harvest Moon Table Mat. It is done with the circles and straights, but we're also doing ruler work cross hatching. So I'm showing how easy it is to do cross hatching. I was always afraid of that stupid stuff. Cross hatching was like a scary thing. And now that I know how to use my tools correctly, it's so easy. So this is the last one. So I would probably just pull up my threads and knot it, but I'm not going to. And I wanted this to come together so you could see it. So that's why I did that. So isn't that pretty just by itself? And this is called Circles on Quilt Spinning Wheel 14. So you can see the outside shape is kind of like the Spinning Wheels 36, but it's just got a different inside shape. So now I'm going to lay that one aside and get the one that goes with it. It's spinning wheel number 7. So I'm going to put that on, do the same thing as we did before. Start at A. Stop at B. Again, you have etchings you can use. I don't want to stitch over this. Let's get that out of there. This time it'll line up with the line. Next time it'll line up right here. There's an etching, so I'm lining it up right with that. Next time it's with the line. It's one of the things I love about our templates, and that is the fact that there's so many easy things built right into the template that allow you to keep your design, I don't know if the word is symmetrical, but lined up the right way and working so that you don't overlap when you're not supposed to. And I can remember, and I know this is going to be hard for some of you, before we had the crosshair grid, whenever I would do one of the spinning wheels, if it was supposed to have 8 designs, I might get around and have room for 7.5 because I didn't have those lines to line up. This definitely covers a large area. So if you've got a block that you have a pretty good size space in, and you don't even have to do the middle part. You could just do this outside part. So there's your design with those 2 templates. And working back to this being our first quarters box, that's what the project was. And then we used the small little opening to do these pieces. This was made with the arc, okay, the 12-inch arc that we have in our, most people start with that template. And then this, I call them stacked snowballs because that's what they kind of look like, was done with this little hole right here. And there's lines on this that allow you to line up to keep your distance away from that. So those were the templates that were in that first box. I can't remember if there were others. I think that's it because that's what was in my project kit here. There might have been more for all I know, but that's what I remember. And I didn't check on that before tonight. So those were from that box. Now, the template that I'm going to show you, it's only one. There were more in the box. But the template that I'm going to show you next, provided I can find it, will be the last template for tonight. And it's our Spinning Feathers template. There were 2 sizes. I'm going to do this size. We also have larger sizes. So after I show you this small one, I'll show you a couple of the designs stitched from the larger one. I'm going to go back to my first piece. I think there was still room on it. So if you've been wondering, should I get those subscription boxes? Well, I can tell you we have had a lot of fun, a lot of interesting classes and projects. And I think the people that are on here that have been using or getting the subscription boxes would agree you get an awful lot of stuff. And it more than pays for itself, that's for sure. So anyway, all right, I've got my 8 lines. I do not need a thumbtack. I just rotate around the foot. Now, if any of you have had the Spin-E-Fex feathers, some of the bigger ones, these come down small and go up to like, I don't know how big. They tell you, that's why there's A's and B's on here. They tell you to start at A or start in the center, stitch out to A, and go back and stop at B. Rotate A over, line up this line, and stitch all the way back to the center. The next one would be from A, or from the center out to A and back to B. Move over and go back to the center. Now I'm going to tell you the way I do it. I like the look of it better. It's a whole lot easier. And I'm not sure which one of those is why I do it. Probably the whole lot easier. So what I do is I start just like they said to start in the center. And I'm going to go all the way out to A and all the way back to the center. Rotate to the next line. Go all the way out to A and back to the center. And that way, your design is complete with the same, I don't want to say thickness, but that's really what it is, heaviness of your thread. So you'll see when I take this off of here what I'm talking about. So I've done half of it the way it was designed to be used, and half of it the way I like to do it. So this half over here, you can see it's only heavy at every other top. Over here, it all looks a little bit more like it's all one design. Now I'm going to show you one more thing on this, and then I'll show you the big one like I told you I would. You can embellish this, and you wouldn't have stopped when I did. But this would be the way it would be for doing the design. That sounded crazy. Did I not do the right size? I guess I did. But what you're going to do is pull this to the left until the edge of the template touches your stitching. And then you can take this and go out. Come bring it in. If you want one more, do one more, just a little shorter. And you can do that on every single one of those. And you can see how much emphasis that adds to that particular design. Okay, so now what I want to show you is these come in a lot of different sizes. The one I showed you is what came in that set in the subscription box. But I happen to have, because I use my pieces over and over, one already stitched out. See how much bigger that is than that one? And I was showing how to put one vein in, just one vein in that. So you can see that there are a lot of different sizes. This particular one, again, I demonstrated it the way it was to be. So every other one is heavy. But I like the way I did it over here, where I go all the way from the center out and all the way back. It just makes it look more, oh, I don't know. I think it looks better. Let's just say it that way. It looks better. So I hope that this is giving you, those of you that don't have this subscription box, a reason to buy it or to get some of these templates, whether you want the box or not. And also it will, give you some ideas on things that you can do with the templates. And I seem like I had one more thing I wanted to show you. Oh, I know what it was. And yes, I do. If you want to, you can use those templates like this. This is the one that I spun around just recently. And you can create a border with that. So I'm going to draw a line right here. We're getting, oh, I got plenty of room on the other one. So I'm going to draw right across there. And when I look at this, if I wanted it to do like that other one that just was kind of like teardrops, half a teardrop, that's fine. I would put a ruler sticker wherever I wanted that to be. But if I want them to loop, I need to have it so it comes back farther. So I can either take this, because I want it straight up and down, and I can bring this down just a little bit and use my ruler stickers. I know I have some here. Oh, well, to save time, I'm just going to use my marker because it'll come right off. I can see it, but you can't. So let me move this sticker to right there. Okay, so that's going to be where I put my line. I can still see my line, but like I said, I know you can't. So this way, I'm going to create a cool border, and it's going to have some loops in it. Stop right on the line, side to side. So you can see how easy it is to take our templates and create unique things. And a lot of this comes from just sitting down and looking at the templates and using the stitching line disc to draw that out. So let's see on this one how tall it is. It's 2 1/4 and pretty much 2 1/2 that way. So you've got those, so you could see how that would fit in. But it just makes it so much fun to be able to find more uses out of your templates. Now I'm going to show you something that I do. When I find a use that I really like and I want to do it repeatedly, I'm going to put this back where it was. So I take a straight edge and an X-Acto knife, And on the back side of my template, I etch my own line. So that one, I'm going to turn this upside down so my stable tape is not there. That one is right there. Only go once. And so now I have an etched line. Where is it? There it is, right there. It was glaring and right there. So I have an etched line. So now it's like, oh, I don't have to think, what did I do the last time? And I've got it ready, set up, ready to go again. So just a little bit of an idea. A simple like box cutter knife will work. And that way you can have exact lines with not having a bunch of different ruler stickers on your templates. So thank you for joining me tonight for Odd Mondays, and hope to see you guys. I'm sure it's tomorrow. I can't tell you what time. You have to go on So Steady's site, or maybe you got an email. Maybe somebody knows what time it is. But tomorrow I will be on telling about the fall circle project, but I'm also going to be showing some cross hatching. So thank you very much, ladies. Always enjoy being with you, and have a great week. We'll see you next time. Bye now.